Hi again, everybody. Welcome to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. Today, we recap this week's action with the Braves in both Chicago and Atlanta. I've got thoughts on a popular Cubs trade rumor you may have already heard about. Another update on Jason Hayward's injury status, and we'll talk about how last night's rainout will impact the Cubs roster for this weekend's four-game series in Cincinnati. Cubs dropped 2 of 3 against the Braves this week, but there's no shame in losing to Atlanta. The Braves are so much better than most people thought heading into the season. I would say they're probably even surprising themselves. They definitely seem like a legitimate team through the first quarter of this season. Jose Quintana with a tough outing for the Cubs on Monday in the rain makeup game from the middle of April. Quintana failed to complete the 5th inning again. Cubs trailed 6-4 when Jose exited the game. Cubs rallied in the 9th, had the bases loaded much of the 9th inning, but was only able to plate 1 run. Cubs take Monday's game 6-5. In Atlanta, the originally scheduled games, Cubs found 9th inning success on Tuesday, essentially stealing one against closer Arodys Vizcaino, scoring twice on 3 hits to win 3-2. Wednesday's game, a mixed bag. Tyler Chatwood had much better control. You have to say that's an encouraging sign. Just 2 walks in 5 1/3 innings. He was pulled after 79 pitches. It was tied at 1 then. Jump ahead to the 8th inning. Still tied at 1. Carl Edwards Jr. got himself into a big bind, maybe his worst outing of the season, issuing 2 walks, giving up 3 hits and 3 runs, only able to get 1 out. It was 4-1 when he left, and that was the final. Don't like seeing the Cubs drop 2 of 3, but the Braves are not a shabby team. They lead the National League in hitting at .266, only 2 points back of the Major League best Red Sox. Ozzie Albies and Ronnie Acuna Jr. are 2 young guys who have provided a huge spark to the Braves lineup. Combined, they have a combined age of 41. Plenty of other young talent on that team as well. Cubs will face the Braves one more time. That will be August 30th in Atlanta. That will be a make good for last night's rainout. Schedule change will result in the Cubs playing 23 games in 23 days beginning August 21st between the heat of mid to late summer and the great number of games played by that point in the season. The Cubs will definitely be missing that originally scheduled off day on August 30th. That rescheduled game will also be the first of an 11-game road trip taking the Cubs to 4 cities. Rainout last night also making a big impact on this weekend's series in Cincinnati. We'll talk about that shortly. A lot of buzz this week about rumors of Manny Machado joining the Chicago Cubs. He's moved back to his natural position of shortstop this season with the Baltimore Orioles and is expected to fetch a big contract in free agency this offseason. Reports indicate Addison Russell would be part of a possible deal to land Manny Machado. I think there are 2 main issues in play here, and these are the issues that will have you thinking this is a good deal or a bad deal for the Cubs. One is the contract aspect. Addison Russell under team control for a while. I believe it's through 2021. So that's pretty good, knowing you've got a good young talent locked in. Machado, meanwhile, likely going to land a record deal for shortstops during the offseason. Theo Epstein has previously said he's not interested in giving core players up for a rental, but he's also sent mixed signals on this. Second, it's essentially a trade of defense for offense. Russell is without a doubt the better defensive shortstop. Fangraphs says he's responsible for 53 saved runs the last 3 seasons, plus 5 already this year. Machado is at -5 runs saved so far this year, but he's one of the best offensive guys in baseball. 339, 14 homers, and 40 runs driven in heading into Friday's action. Since Machado may be around for just a few months, the Cubs or other interested teams may not have to give up as much to wrangle in a surefire all-star. There could be other players involved. Who knows? I think Schwarber and Russell could be an attractive duo for the O's, a defensive upgrade at short and a solid DH addition. But that is probably a bit to give up for the Cubs to only receive Manny Machado for a few months. I think the move is attractive if it paves the way for Albert Almora Jr. to play every day. That's something that a lot of people overlook. They just look at Russell and Machado himself. But I think if that would lead to Albert Almora Jr. getting everyday time, that would be an addition. Albert and Manny over Kyle and Addison. I green light that. Left field can be filled in multiple ways, kind of like as it is now, a platoon using multiple guys on the Cubs roster. So I think the Cubs should definitely consider a deal for Machado, not just for improving the team, but for keeping other contenders from landing him. The key is to not overpay. Quick Cubs notes. Ben Zobrist clashed with the league this week over his desire to wear black cleats during home games. He says the league threatened to fine him for violating uniform rules. He has since met with the league and believes a resolution will be reached soon. Guess we'll find out when the Cubs return home next week. Meanwhile, just got word that Jason Hayward has been activated from the disabled list. He is not in the starting lineup tonight, however. And last night's rainout was the Cubs' 6th rainout of the 2018 season. That's more than all of 2016 and 2017 combined. It does help the team from a pitching standpoint in the short term. No roster moves will be needed to accommodate tomorrow's doubleheader. That wasn't the case previously. There had been talk of prospect Adbert Alzolay joining from Iowa for that spot start, but that is now unnecessary, and the rotation is set for this weekend. In today's This and That segment, news from across Major League Baseball. It's no secret strikeouts are way up throughout the league. In fact, they outnumbered hits in the month of April for the first time in league history, and that may happen again in May. The number of batters hit by a pitch also reached a record in April. Chris Bryant leading the way, being hit 9 times in the Cubs' 40 games. Keep in mind, Bryant hasn't even played in all of them because he missed almost a week after being hit in Colorado. He's on pace for being hit more than 35 times this season. That is tough. And it has been a difficult week for Robinson Cano. He was hit by a pitch on Sunday and suffered a broken hand. A couple days later, Major League Baseball announced Cano would be suspended for 80 games for violating the league's drug policy. Not only does it impact his 2018 season, many believe it will harm his chances of getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Cano's former team, the New York Yankees, had their own unique nightmare situation this week. Rain cut short their game in Washington on Tuesday with the Nationals. It was tied, I believe, in the 6th inning, so they were set to resume the game Wednesday afternoon and then have Wednesday evening's regularly scheduled game. Although all of that got rained out, Yankees decided to get out of town, go on, and I believe they were off to Kansas City for this weekend. But they ended up getting stuck at Washington Dulles Airport. Weather and mechanical issues with the plane, along with sold-out hotels, forced the Yankees to sleep Wednesday night at Dulles. No one, even the Yankees, should get stuck doing that, sleeping at the airport. All right, Cubs and Reds this weekend in Cincinnati. A 4-game set thanks to a rainout last month. Weather may be an issue again this weekend, perhaps even this evening. Cubs 22-18, 4th in the National League Central. Reds were 3-15 when they replaced their manager and pitching coach. Team is now 15-29, so they've been playing just a shade under 500 with interim manager Jim Riggleman. John Lester and Homer Bailey, the matchup tonight. Lester looking for his 4th win of the year. Bailey with just 1 win through 9 starts. First pitch at 7:10 Eastern on NBC Sports Chicago. Reds have yet to announce their pitchers tomorrow. Kyle Hendricks will pitch Game 1 for the Cubs at 1:10 Eastern. Jose Quintana in Game 2 at 7:10 Eastern, both on WGN. Sunday's game features Yu Darvish against Tyler Mahle. Mahle won his start against the Cubs on April 2nd. 6 innings, 7 Ks, just 1 hit surrendered. I'd say lots of offense can be expected this weekend in Cincinnati. Cubs and Reds sport the 4th and 5th best batting averages in the National League, respectively. Reds with more hits than the Cubs, but they've also played 4 more games. Cubs are 3rd in the National League in runs scored. Cubs starters have been inconsistent, with the bullpen getting a lot of work. Reds starters have been horrendous, and the bullpen recently has been showing a lot of positive signs despite getting a heavy workload. Cubs pitching with the 3rd lowest batting average against in the National League at .225 entering Friday. Reds, meanwhile, with a National League worst .261. On a final note, David Bodie sent back to AAA Iowa this week, and it looked like the Cubs would enter the weekend with 9 relievers and just 3 bench players, but that is now no longer the case with Jason Hayward being activated. So expect the normal 8 relievers and 4 on the bench. Bricks Bleachers on Facebook and Twitter. Connect and comment anytime. Subscribe on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and TuneIn, among others. Thanks for listening to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast.